I am God. I will do everything perfect.
NA Tournament Winner, LegitVocals. How we doing, homie?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Definitely was a fun tournament and was a blast to compete with everybody and have a good time with everyone.
I mean, I don't know whether to go straight into the tournament or just go back into your background about how you sort of got into the game, because I guess we're already sort of talking about it. I guess we might. Should we spoil them with the goods straight off the bat, or do you want to go more about your background?
Whatever you want. I got as much time as you want, boss.
I guess we'll start from the beginning then. So anyone in chat, it's coming. The tournament talk is coming. Don't worry. So I guess first, you have a very distinctive name, and that's one of the things that stood out to me when I first saw you playing. So I guess a lot of people have asked me to ask you where the name even comes from, LegitVocals.
Where the name came from, when I first ever got into online gaming, a friend back in high school kind of got me into it, and his name was Legit Korea because he's legitimately Korean. So he's like, you got to come up with a name, and we were best friends in high school, and we were in choir together. So since I sang a lot at the time, I just took the legit from his name and took vocals because I was in choir, and that's how LegitVocals came to be. And ever since I've been 14, I think it's been my online name. Everything that I can have in my name, that's kind of what it is. So
you've been rocking that for a decade then? Oh wow, I didn't have you down as a singer, to be honest, mate. I didn't. That's not full of surprises.
That was a past life of me that I probably should have stuck with. I sang for a solid 8 years. Did solo and ensemble competitions, got 1 stars around, went to did a cappella choirs, did Renaissance festivals, got scholarships for it. But instead of pursuing the scholarships, I decided to join the army, and then that was that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you've been in the competitive. Sounds like is that competitive by nature then? You like these competitions?
Sing vocal, when you go to solo and ensemble and stuff like that, it is a little competitive because you're trying to make sure your choir sounds a little bit better than other choirs. But overall, we're all there just to get better and to practice and see if we're improving. But yeah, I guess it's you can say it's a little competitive, but at the end of the day, we don't look at it as a huge competition. We look at it as more as have we improved so we can do better next time.
Yeah, that was always the thing as well, because I used to playing bands myself, and you have a lot of the people who think it's a competition, and you have very interesting rivalry with those sorts of people. Obviously, as well, we can see your LegitVocals banner in the back there next to the chocobo. That's another thing that's very distinct with the LegitVocals name. So what is it about the chocobo that you love so much? Why have you got such an affinity for the burbs?
So when I grew up, the 2 main games I played growing up was Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy. They were both these turn-based games that just hooked me in. I enjoyed the story. I played it. Fire Emblem, it was more you got latched onto the characters, where First Soldier, you got used to the mobs and everything. And I just thought chocobos were this one mob that would always run away, and then sometimes you'd make friends with it. Final Fantasy X is one of my favorite Final Fantasies, and that's where you saw the chocobo knights and the chocobo breeders, and they're hey, this is what we do. And I was this is that's where I really got the affinity, because that's where you had the chocobo racing a little bit from in 7 again, and it was but more detailed, more high def, and it was oh, this is so I think out of all the Final Fantasy monsters, I think chocobos have always been my go-to, my favorite, just what I have, and it's what I kind of stuck with. I've always had an affinity for them. I just never this brand, how I put the feathers in my name and the hoodie and stuff like that. That wasn't a part of the brand at first. When I first started doing things, I was a big trading card game player. So I have an old logo that was it was cards and stuff. But I decided to pull back to more like Final Fantasy, because like when I first started streaming, I did some Final Fantasy stuff, but I didn't do a lot. And then when First Soldier came out, that's where I made the transition. I saw the Chocobo hoodie and was like, oh, this is me. And since the day I've had it, you can't get it off of me unless like I'm showing off a different outfit. So
Well, I always see a bot now, and I think of you as well. Like bots are running around in your Chocobo hoodie, like knockoff legit vocals
the
running around the
jacket,
game.
I know, straight gets you.
Well, you said something pretty controversial there. Well, for some people at least, anyway. That Final Fantasy X is your favourite of them.
Oh,
That's people
yeah.
dunk on that all the time. What's going on? Why'd you like that one then?
So like everybody has like their favorites for their own reasons, either be like memories or the story or what they is. I think 10 had like a really good story, and also it's like childhood memories to me. Like I felt like in my childhood when I played it, I could relate to Titus a lot, and it was just I play it once a year now. It's like a thing that I do because it's just it's just memories to me at this point now. Like everybody likes 7 because of like they remember their first playthrough. Lodi loves 9 because he remembers his first playthrough and that's his favorite one. Like we all like have our reasons for it. I just think 10 was just a very well thought out, and it was one of the first Final Fantasies that like there's more like movie time, like cinematics, than there is like sometimes gameplay. Like you can go and watch like a whole like cinematic of Final Fantasy X, and it's like 11 hours. Like you might as well just watch a movie marathon right there and like you could understand. You could never play Final Fantasy X ever and just watch the cinematics, and you would understand the story and everything that's going on. And I think that's like very, very good like storytelling by like the devs and everything, and it's had me hooked ever since. Plus, Blitzball is like besides Triple Triad, Blitzball is the best game they've ever made. So
That opening though, innit? Like I remember that blew my mind away when that opening within the Blitzball Stadium, and then it all comes apart. That's just sick. That is. But then the most thing you hear now about FF10 is ha 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 ha. Let's just hear that over and over again now.
A good old laugh, yeah.
Which always that gets stick, but that bit's supposed to be awkward in the context. I mean, I pulled you out of context on that opening. They pulled Tidus out of context there.
Oh yeah, definitely pulled us out of context. Yeah. Definitely pulled us out of context.
So have you played 7 then? Because that's another question I was going to ask you.
Yes,
I
have.
Yeah,
I have. I've played every Final Fantasy that's been released, even the knockoffs, like the DS ones that we had, like based off of Final Fantasy 12. Like I played Crisis Core. I played Cerberus, Dirge of Cerberus. I've played Remake. Like I've tried them all because I've wanted to see it. Like a lot of people hated 13. I think 13 was an all right one. I think I enjoyed 13-2 more than I enjoyed 13, only because 13-2 was more like it's like you're playing Pokemon but with Final Fantasy. Like you're just collecting everything. And it's the one time I can just have a team of Chocobos beat up on the main villain of the story and be like, "What are you gonna do about it, boss?" Like,
I think that's where I stopped. I stopped at 13. I haven't actually played any of those. Maybe I'll pick up 16 because that looks pretty good. And then I started again, obviously, with FF7 Remake, which is why I'm here playing this Battle Royale. So out of all the Battle Royales that there are, why did you choose this one? There's loads of them. Why are you here playing this one?
So I was playing Super Mecha Champions. It's a Mecha Battle Royale before this. And if I look back on it, right, like I played Fortnite. Fortnite was all right. I enjoyed it for like its bit when it first came out, but like then it became more about building and not the battle royale, so I dropped it. I played Warzone a lot, but like the people I played with just stopped and I was done with it. Apex, I had my fun with it, but I just never felt like a click with Apex, so I moved on from it. And then, like I said, like I went back and forth probably between those other ones. I'm mostly like a MOBA player whenever I wasn't playing Battle Royale. So I was playing like Smite, I was playing League of Legends, I was playing Paragon, I was playing all these other games to just entertain my time. And when I decided to take a break from all those, that's when I started Super Mecha Champions and get myself back into the Battle Royale scene. And then when I heard about this game was like literally 2 weeks before it came out, they were like, "Hey, are you going to try this?" And I was like, hell yeah, I'll try it if my phone can run it. Because they also told me I had controller support. I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to learn how to fucking play a shooter on my phone. Got it. And ever since then, I remember season 1, I was like, I streamed it more than anybody else season 1. I remember putting in multiple 12 to 16-hour days all of season 1 to try and like, because I didn't make ambassador and I wanted to, because like the big incentive for me, the reason why I wanted to be ambassador was, one, because like they told us we could talk to devs, but 2, because like if you look at the season 1 ambassador, they all got this box, the Shinra box, and in the Shinra box I had a t-shirt, had a business card with your name in it, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I was like, I want one of those boxes. And I hate to break it to everybody, you don't get one of those boxes when you become an ambassador.
I saw Blitz have one of them actually. I'm recalling that box. Blitz had that, and they got his name wrong. They sent him some woman from Japan's.
They sent him the JP ambassadors one, and she has his, and it's just funny.
I don't know if they ever swapped that one out.
I don't think they did, but I think they will sometime in the future.
Well, I guess as an ambassador, it's sort of your job then to persuade people to play this game if they haven't heard of it, which is surprisingly, there's a lot of people who still haven't even heard of this game, because I have still people coming to my stream going, what the hell is this? I see people in other people's stream going, what game are you playing? This looks good. And then they hear that it's mobile and they're like, oh no, maybe I'll give it a pass. But what do you say to people to like try and persuade them to get on board with this game? Like, what's your sell for this game? Like,
what's my sell point?
Yeah.
my sell point is if this game was on console or PC, it'd probably be the best battle royale out there.
I don't even think that's hyperbole. I think that's on the money.
Because like, not like the balancing isn't good, but the fact of the matter is, it's if you look at every other battle royale, it's like there's a meta, and like you had to play to that meta. Fortnite, you went through like the seasons where like if you weren't good at building, you just lost to people who could build. You look at like Warzone, like they have their SMG metas, they have their AR metas, and if you didn't use these guns, you just lost to these other people who had those guns. And like that's just like Super Mecha Champions. We had mechs that were like super strong. We had mechs that like there was no reason to play them. And like I come to this game and like there's only like 2 times I declare there was like a meta, and like this is my opinion. People could say there's metas all they want, but the 2 times I think there was metas, like we had the Chocobo meta, and like that got nerfed, and Chocobos are still getting nerfed to this day. And then we had like the gravity meta, where like if you just didn't have gravity, you just lost because you moved so slow. You had no idea they had it because there's no way to click up enemy and be like, oh, I know they have gravity. So it was just, you walked up to somebody, they would drop it on you, and the fight was over. Like those are the 2 metas I addressed in this game. And then like people want to say there was a flamethrower meta, but like you had to go out of your way to go find a flamethrower. And then even then, like if somebody didn't have it tucked away the second they pulled it out or like anything, you knew they had a flamethrower. It's not like gravity where like they could like pump fake you with like a fireball or something, and then they just drop a gravity on you. So like I think if this ever did come to like console and PC, like the big attraction point, not only it being a Final Fantasy game, is like you can play how you want. Like I'm a heavy melee player, and you can still compete with people who shoot people. And then there's like Cyan and Cosmo, who are like big shooters, but they don't use melee that much. And then there's people who are like Krovax, who like he relies on like his materia and playing Sork, and like that's how he plays. And all of us have our own play styles, and like this is the one game where like you can see like all these play styles converge and all be able to play on some type of equal footing, where if you look at other battle royales, that's not a thing. So I tell people they should try it if they have a phone, because it does have controller support. So like if you're already a controller gamer, you get to try it a little bit, and then that way you can get familiar with the game. So if it ever does come to PC and console, you already have like a step ahead of your competition.
Yeah. Funny you should mention that gravity meta, because that's how I actually came across your chat. It was you, actually. I came into your stream and you raging, being a warrior and raging over this fucker's putting gravity down. When you fight me like a man, and that's an instant subscribe there. And then it was obviously your gameplay. Funny you should say everyone playing on an equal footing when he came away with a 5 out of 5 win on the tournament, but we'll get into that later, eh? Moogle was asking actually as well if this game was to have a crossover, what would you want it to be and why? Because obviously we had the
Final Fantasy X. Like we missed out
FF10.
last season. They said they brought Blitz mode, but no Blitzball. I was like, you let me down. Like I think a Final Fantasy. I think it'd be amazing. Like if we had a Final Fantasy X crossover. First off, like the costumes could work. Yuna could be Sork. Titus could be Warrior. You have Kamari for Dragoon. You have Lulu. That could also be a Sork out. Like you have all these outfits that could go for you. You can have a Blitzball on Ninja. So when you do the Ninja combo, the Blitzball spins around you. Like there's so much.
Jeez,
like,
you've got it all worked out. I think you need to have a word with it.
This could be the perfect thing in the world, and they have like so much to be there. But yeah, I definitely think like that's something that could happen. Like how even one of the like animations could be like the Jack shot where like Titus like jumps up, spins around, and then kicks a Blitzball. Like there's so much stuff like from that game that they could do, and like that's like the one thing that I'm like, yeah, I'd want a crossover of this.
Fanboys would lose their mind if they did that though, because there's always, I don't know if you know how much you know about that tenuous link between FF10 and 7 being connected to the same universe, so everyone would just like
Cloud's Titus's like great grandfather.
The far playing and being the live stream, and there's a lot of similarities. They put Shinra in there, didn't they? I don't know if you played Remake. You played
yes.
Yeah. Shinra's in the airship in 10, and then he's actually in the photo in the Shinra building when you go there. Ducky's asking how you are. He says, how's Mr. Vocals?
I'm doing good today. Besides the sad upset we had earlier today, I am all right. I'm happy to be here, getting my mind off of things.
Good. Serge is there in the chat as well. Ninja's running around with Blitzball, please. So you've got another supporter there.
Yeah, I'm telling you, everybody would enjoy it. I think if they made a 10 collab, it would make plenty of money, and it'd probably bring enough people back.
Start a hashtag or something. So you touched on the gameplay there, and you were saying that there's not really much of a, you can play any style you want, so you chose Warrior. So what drew you specifically to that class and to stay with the Warrior class then?
So I learned like very early on I wasn't a very good shooter, and I was playing with people like Zion, not Zion. He's like one of my old OGs, WCG, Bonanza, Box, like all the people I came from SMC with over to the game. And like these were players that have played mobile games, or they're just good shooters inherently. WCG being one of them. WCG still in my eyes is probably the best player to ever touch the game. Like I knew they were shooters, and I knew I couldn't compete on that level. So I tried to find how I could compete on their level. And very early on, I was a sorcerer main at first because I just enjoyed how materia felt, because like you could just drop 3 fireballs on somebody and they're almost dead, and then you throw 3 more and they're gone. You had trance, so you were just spamming. And then I was like, well, how can I like mitigate the downtime between them falling from fire? Like, what can I do in that meantime? Because as Sork, I'm just waiting for the cooldown to come back, and it's just a prediction game. Like, do I know where you're gonna go, or do I not? And do you live or do you die? And when I was leveling through all the classes, Warrior was like my second to last class to 60. And once I picked up Warrior, I realized like Rush was just so dominant because like it let me move. And I remember the early days of playing Warrior. When I'd run into like other Warriors, I could like outplay them a little bit based off like the distancing, the dashing. Another player that no longer plays the game, his name is Selfish. Him and me like kind of like lab together. He would come in my chat and be like, hey, have you tried this with Warrior? Have you tried this? And we started like making combos with Warrior. That's where we made like the melee combo into fire, because like back then, before the kickflip getting knocked down, Warrior could hit you with the combo, and while you're falling, I could throw the fireball. So by the time your character stands up, you would get hit by the fire. Or you could do fire and then do the same combo, and you could just loot people to where they couldn't fight you back. And then we were trying to figure out how you could fight people without having to do the dunk, because like made you very vulnerable if you missed. And at first we thought you could only rush like 3 times and then it got put on cooldown. But we realized as long as you never did the dunk, the rush just went on a 1-second cooldown. So you could just spam it. And like that opened up our play styles tremendously. And since we knew that and not a lot of people did, it was that was just a difference. We won fights because we knew how to abuse the class better than others, and because it had so much mobility, and I helped develop combos for it. It just made me want to stick to the class, and I was like, "This is my class." And it had the best melee in the game, had great combo potential, and all I needed to do was be within dashing range of you, and I knew I could win a fight. And the great thing about a battle royale is sooner or later the circle's small, so you're within dashing range. There's nowhere to go.
Yep, and then you don't need the end of the sword. That's interesting then. So you actually already started before you even found Kazuma and Scion. You already were playing with just like top-notch shooters, and that's like developed your sort of gaming style across the game.
Yeah, that's the funny thing, right? Like when I tell people WCG was like the best player in this game, and I hands down believe it, is because WCG is a person who never took the game seriously. He was a very casual gamer. That's what we used to joke around and say that's what his name stood for. It stood for world class or world casual gamer. And we told him because like he has like the potential to be like one of the best players in like any game he touches. He's always been a top player, but the problem is he never takes it seriously. And when me and WCG used to play, I used to watch WCG in season 1 and season 2. I used to have a highlight of it. I already took it off my channel, sadly. I wish I still kept it. WCG used to 1v3 Scion, Vidok, and Zenpai. He used to just fight them, and it was just what WCG did. WCG made it look like this game was nothing, and he made it look like it was the easiest thing in the world. He didn't miss. He would, like, if you guys thought Scion and Cosmo were like monsters, like WCG was a monster, and he wasn't even taking the game seriously. He was the one who told me about Cosmo. I think we were playing like somewhere like middle of season 1, and I was like, who the hell is this Cosmo guy? Because Cosmo mostly stayed in like solos, and he finally came over to teams, and he was like, that guy can shoot. And I was like, what do you mean this guy can shoot? And I remember like Cosmo like peeked me for a second, and I was like, oh no, he's not gonna shoot me. So I dashed into the open to see if Cos was actually gonna shoot. Cos swung me and downed me, and I was like, all right, Dubs, I should have listened to you. The guy can shoot. But like I'd watch WCG and Cosmo go back and forth, and like I realized I was like, this guy's a contender. So instead of like just looking at like Scion's team as like a team that like I was like I had to play a little smarter now, because like I don't want to die and just have Dubs do all the work. Now when I saw Cosmo, I was like, all right, so that's another person that I have to like think about and like try to like, they're people I wanted to strive to beat, because I knew if I could consistently get good on them, because I didn't go against WCG a lot because me and Dubs were always playing together. Like it was the second he got home, he's like, hey, you playing? I was like, yeah, we're playing. We would play for like 8 to 10 hours a day, and like me and Dubs would just rack it up in teams, and like that's just what we did. We duoed most of the time, and then that was back when I wasn't doing with WCG. I was 1v3, and it was just I tried to get better and better and better, because I wanted to be on the level of these players that I knew were better than me in one aspect of the game. So I needed to make sure I was better in another aspect so I could try and compete. I remember I tell people this, so like how to like I get good at like what I do. Like there early season 1, I spent like 4 hours, like 3 days in a row, just throwing fireballs at bots in the training grounds to like learn the distance. So like the least amount of time you can take for an input, the better, because if it's just muscle memory, then you don't have to think about it, and your opponent doesn't have much time to react, because if you throw it right when you want to, then they had to already be making the decision to dodge a fireball that's coming in, or they just get hit. And that was like my mindset that I went into it. And yeah, like it was just seeing great players is like what drove me to be better than what I was.
Very interesting. That says why you got the nickname from Pink Teddy of the Magic Swordsman. So he was talking about how accurate and deadly those fireballs were. They just ping right on you, and then you're straight in there with that rush. I've seen it many times, as I'm sure many other people have in the chat have even been on the other end of it. We've got a few people in the chat asking. Desmo is desperate to hear about this book. So I guess we can get onto that shortly. He's back. Tell us about the book, he's saying. Better now late.
So yeah, so this book about season 1, I used to write like quotes and stuff in this book. I used to write a lot of stuff in this book. All these games that I used to like write stuff in, and when I got to a point with First Soldier, like when I told you like I wanted to improve, it was I realized like I was a coach for other games, so it was I always look at things of like, oh, I messed up, I did this. It's like, hey, but how can we improve? Never beat yourself up, and even when you win, look back, because there's always very success. There's always something that could have been different, right? So we try to improve upon every game. Even if you're at the best in the world, you can still improve. You could be the number 1 player in a game. There's still something you can improve on. So when I would play against players, if they got the better hand of me or if I struggled against them, I'd write their name down and I'd be like, hey, this person was playing this class and they killed me or I died or what was the big mistake. And then that way, when I saw that player later on, I was like, hey, I have a general sense of like what this character was doing, how they played last time. So if that person's improved, then I know. And if I just die again, then I haven't improved as myself. So it was an easier way to do it. I've stopped writing stuff in the book since like season 3 because like everybody was kind of like, I've already played against them a whole bunch. I know my spot. And I was like, I didn't need to update anything on it. And like, we lost a lot of players. So it was like, why write more down when it's just the same players? I can just keep that all mental. And that's where I went with it.
So I don't know if Desmo, if that's satiated your appetite for the book, or you was asking to literally see inside the book, or you wanted him to read passages out of the book. I don't know what you wanted there, but he's talking about the book. He's talking about the book there. He's using it obviously as a tool to improve at the game, which sort of leads me on to a question a lot of newer players were asking me to ask you, was to say, what would you say to a newer player to he says, what does it say about me? He wants to know what it says about him.
I'll DM Desmo what it says about him. I'll let him know what it says about him, so everybody doesn't know his weaknesses and his flaws on stream. You know, I'll help you out later, Desmo. I got you, buddy.
There we go. Then I think that about does you, doesn't it? So getting back to the question, anyway. A lot of players were asking as they are. He says here right now. He doesn't mind. I mean, it's up to you. Lay it out, homie.
All right. Desmo weaknesses. Yeah, hey Desmo, that's what you think it is. All right, yeah. So the first time I ran into you, Desmo, apparently you were a chip off the block. You were just another new person that me and Dubs ran into. You were a person who tried to use Warrior, but like didn't understand. Like you weren't on the understanding that like me and Selfish were at with the class yet. So I have it written down that you didn't kill me and that you were just somebody that we ran into. It was I put it as Warrior wannabe because that's what I called a lot of people who were trying to play Warrior and imitate the way me and Selfish were playing it. I didn't write much more after that because I got to know you as a person, Desmo, and doing stuff. So it's most of your stuff. Like if I had to look at it now, like I remember all the times from like when you've started to where you've come, like you understand like the importance of material. You understand the importance of like your positioning when you're playing as Warrior, because like you can't just unga bunga run in all the time, because especially as guns have changed, like you have to be a little bit smarter with your positioning, because like at any point you can just be deleted. You've definitely come like improvements from where it is, but like you definitely still have that bad habit of like sticking to a predicament of when you're in a bad position, you don't try to pull out or try to make it to your advantage in the fight anymore. You just try to, you like all in it and you're like, hey, I either win or I lose here. And sometimes there was never a chance of you winning it. But definitely like one of the players, like I was happy I got to know, because now you're an ambassador of me. You're a person who You probably won't be a warrior anymore because of Trickster and like how your like images and cards and stuff like that, Mr. Magician Man. But you know, you always be one of those honorary warriors I think of.
So there you go, Desmo. Someone get him some salve for that fat ass of his. I think that's a bit that's a bit sore after that. Yeah, so what was I saying? I was saying about does anyone else want to know what it says in the book? I don't know if you want to divulge this information, but seeing as we're on the subject, does he have a book recipe for his NPC?
Nah, you would have to ask Sparkles for the recipe for Kentucky Fried Chocobo. I don't have that. I don't cook that much, you know. I know I have a recipe for fried duck though, Ducky. So watch out.
Always joke about that with him in the Discord. Yeah. What we got coming in from chat? I don't know why it matters when you got East Asians posting on Twitter good players and there's materia guns class that East Asia will train fight against you specifically. If you good, you always on someone maps. Just me, I know. I doubt I'm in the book. We've hardly ever run into each other. It's morbid.
Morbid, you're in the book for a different reason. You're not in the book because you ran into me. You were in the book because I especially remember because you're one of the people I wrote in the book for a different reason. So I actively watch other streams when like I'm not playing the game. Most of the time I'll be playing something else. I'll have a stream on the side. You were one of the players who started streaming, and like I didn't know who you were, and you were trying to like when I like heard you talk, like it made sense to me. Like you're someone that I could like talk with like analytically about things. Sure, I didn't agree with like some of the things you said, but you definitely like you had a better head on your shoulders than like some players. So it like definitely like made me want to look into you because like if you ended up making a team that I was going to run into, a team that has a good like IGL that has a good head on his shoulders can put his team in the right position and like lead him in the right direction. And then if you're thinking like I am, how you can always improve in any situation, then naturally you're just going to improve as a player. So I have to keep an eye on you. I have to like watch how you're changing, watch how you're improving, and that's just how I go from there. So I know you're definitely in the book. So
there you go. I almost teamed with OG and Creator. Oh yeah, Creator did actually say. I guess we'll leave that for the tournament section. Actually, we'll get onto that. It's just reminded me. I've got so many questions popping at me from chat. Ducky, I see you. It's just not the right time to ask. We're talking about the Warrior and the game, but we'll get onto that. Don't worry. Yeah, someone was asking me because you were saying there about like improvement in the game. So a lot of people were asking me to ask you like what you would specific things you'd tell them to look at and focus on if they were trying to improve in this game.
And so if you're serious about like trying to commit to this game and be like really good, if you're wanting to be like a shooter player, right? I would tell you do kind of like a little bit what Cyan does. You can download aim labs for your phone, get used to it. You can put the same sensitivity, the same frame rates that you play First Soldier on. That way, like it can tell you what your natural like weaknesses are when you're playing the game. Secondly, once you're done with aim trainer, go into like actual First Soldier. Make sure you have like your HUD set out that's good for you. Make sure you have your buttons where you need them so it's comfortable for you. It's good for you. You can make those decisions and those impulses. So like you don't have to think a lot for your buttons. You're like, oh, I need a melee. My finger knows exactly to go here. I need to scope and shoot. I need to do this. Stuff like that. And when you do that, start practicing and like start your day and be like, today I'm going to work on shooting and pick up a gun that's always consistent and use that gun over and over. So like if you want to get good with the lethal, use the lethal, use the lethal, use the lethal. If you see other guns, just don't use them because you're working on consistency and making sure you can keep your aim and your shots and control that recoil. Because if you get good with that gun, then you can transfer over and just learn the different recoil patterns. If you're wanting to get better with melee, the thing with melee is positioning. Like you want to get really good at the game, learn positioning. Like if you guys like watch this, we'll talk about this more in the tournament, I'm pretty sure, when we get to the tournament talk. But like positioning is big. If you play to your advantage, if you have the better spot than somebody else, like you just already have an advantage over them. Materia, you have to like learn what is the strength of your materials? You're using thunder, you know you can deny an area. You know you can like put it against a wall to hit the other side of the wall. You have blind that breaks auto fire. It makes it harder for people who don't have good tracking to shoot you. You have blizzard, slows people down. You have to know what you have to your like what you are accessible to. If you know you're not a good shot, take fights where like you can make up for you being a bad shot with like high ground. If you're using melee, make sure you're in a spot where your melee has the advantage. If you're using materia, make sure your materia suits the area that you are going to be fighting in the best. And you use that type of stuff every day. You go in, you're like, this is what I'm going to work on. And even if like you feel like you didn't do good, look back at each match and be like, what is something I can improve on from that match? Even if you just had a whole bot lobby, you could be like, well, maybe my mindset, I just like turned off my brain because it's a bot lobby. Don't do that. Always think, hey, circles rotating from here to here. What's a good place to hold? What has a good spot? A big thing I'll tell people is like, so if you think about it, like you're walking into a building of a house, right? And you have like a hallway to your left, and then there's like a little bit of wall, and then a hallway to your right, right? If you're going to like walk in the building, you're aware of your surroundings. You're like, hey, when you first walk in the door, you see the two hallways. So you're watching both. But when you're going to swing that left hallway that's immediately there, you might as well step into the hallway, because if somebody's in that hallway, you're not fighting them in the hallway. Because if you stand out in the main hallway while looking left, you're going to be looking at the guy on the left, but you're not looking at the right. So you have to have that awareness and positioning, because now you're, instead of just fighting the guy that's in the hallway, you could be fighting the guy that's in a hallway and someone on the other hallway. So like you have to like consciously be thinking like, hey, the bot showed up. Did I fight the bot at the best place for me? Did I play this circle right? Did I do this against this person right? Even when you're like pub stomping players, or when you play against a better player, like try to always look at what you could have done better, even if it's a small thing. Like I shot 3 bullets and I automatically reloaded. If I didn't reload, I could have shot this guy when he peeked the door. Like there's so many things that you could have done.
So much to remember, Onyx. He hasn't even broken out the math yet. My God's not the math.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. So basically, as well, like the short version of that, then I guess is just to question everything that you did in a match and to review every single thing that you did to make sure that that was the right thing to do, given the circumstances, and to learn all the like the quirks and the strengths of and weaknesses of every material and guns that you're gonna actually use, which I guess kind of leads me on to the question, because last time when Yenvan was on, another fellow warrior, I asked him what he thought the 3 like most important skills to develop for the warrior were, and I think his was engagements and disengagements, and now I'm blanking on the other 2 because I haven't got them written down here. So I guess I'll just put that same question to you, see if you match on any points.
Yeah,
but what would you say? Yeah,
100%. I think engagements and disengagements are like a huge thing. Alimir was definitely a player that like I always like. Oh no, you said Yinvan. So Yinvan, like he's a player where I have to think about engagements, right? Because he just now started trying to use Rush. He was the hearsay warrior saying, hey, I always use Punisher. So when I knew he was in my lobby, it's like, can I take this fight? Does he have Punisher? Or if I like ran up and I heard him pop it, I'm like, all right, now I'm leaving. Like there's no point for me to take a melee fight with a Punisher warrior, because as a Rush warrior, I have to play almost perfect, because the second he's on me, he's doing more damage to me. He's hitting me faster. And like, it's just, he builds my stagger faster. That puts me at the biggest disadvantage, even if I play right. So I'd rather just take it back, wait till I have Rush. Now I can dash in, hit my combo, dash out. And then when he tries to do anything, I can just dash back in because it doesn't have Punisher. It's definitely like, if you learn your engagements and your disengagements, like a big thing I'll tell people, like you see somebody pop Trance, Punisher, Dragoon's Favor, and you have a can't just leave. Unless like you have them like to 10 HP, you have no reason to fight them. Like if they're wasting that big cooldown and like you're not in final circle, you can leave the fight. There's nothing that says you have to stay there and fight them. There's nothing that like locks you into a dome and says you have to fight. It's just like when people go against machinists and machinists throw the jamming gadget. You can't use your gun in it. Just leave. Just leave the fight. It's learning when you can disengage, and then the harder thing is learning when you can engage. There's players like Cyan and Cosma who have like, we call it like in like FPS where we call it ego checking. They just think they have a bigger ego than you. They think they're gonna beat you no matter what. So like their initiating is just them saying, I'm a better player than you, so if I go in, I'm winning this. But if you know you're not a better player than people, it is, how can you get the advantage on this person? If this person's playing in a building, you can edge guard that building and they can't leave that building until you let them, if you play it right. If they're like hugging you out of zone, you can rotate further out if you have to. Maybe tank the zone a little bit, use potions to heal so you can get to a new position. It just depends on what they're doing. Especially now with like the tornado material, like if they're spamming thunder or bio, you just drop a tornado, it pushes everything out the way. You have nothing to worry about. You just have to play to your strengths against their strengths. You always want to play. The thing I always say is you always want to play to your advantage. You never want to play to your disadvantage, because playing to your disadvantage, the numbers are already against you that you're going to lose. If you play to your advantage, the numbers are with you to win. And you always feel better when you're in a place of advantage. Like if you know, like you have 100 health more than somebody, you're going to play better because you're like, oh, I know it takes less to kill that person. If you know that like they have nothing because it just respawned in, if you're in that mindset, you're always like, hey, look, I have the advantage right now. I'm going to push it. It puts you in a better mindset, which gets you playing better. Because if you play with a bad mindset and you're like, oh, well, he has this, well, he's better than me, like it puts you in the mindset that you can never achieve better or win that fight. So never play in a disadvantaged spot because it puts you in a bad mindset. You want to stay in the best mindset you can for every fight that you can. And that's why when I tell people to practice and play to your advantage, because that gets you consistent to the point you're like, I know I can take a fight uphill to a downhill fight. I know I can hit this combo when the time comes. I know I can do, because once you get consistent and you believe in yourself, then it's second nature. And then you have nothing to worry about, because you know, as long as you're doing what you are comfortable with and you are capable of, then all you can do from there is, did you go in at the right time? Or did they have the advantage when you thought you had the advantage? You can look back at it because you know, hey, I knew I did this exact thing. I know why. You know why you did your actions. Now you can look at what the opponent's actions were and fix and improve on that. So it keeps you always thinking, always improving. That way when you're in the next fight and you're like, well, last guy did this, what's this guy going to do? And you have that, like, just that background.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's consistently, you're consistent as well with the answer of that consistency of like work to the strength. So what would you say then, if we're talking about warrior specifically, like what are the advantages that class, the advantages and weaknesses that class has just inherently over the other classes in the game that you can look out for and you can use to your advantage in the game?
So like warriors, like advanced, like if you're wanting to pick up warrior and like it's the class that you've decided that you're going to like stick with and you want to get really good, I would tell you learn the distance of rush, learn the timing, because like there's a second when the circle clicks. Once the circle clicks and it does like solid, that's when you get your dash. But you want to make sure you're hitting like at max distance or a little bit where they're closer, not at full max distance. The reason why is because then that guarantees your first and second slash to hit. You never want to really stick your third slash unless you're confident the person's not moving the right direction to get away from you. You're inside of a building, or like if you're guaranteed to hit it, go for it. But if not, you just want to go in, do your rush, do your slash. It resets it because most of the time they're running away from you. So then you can rush and slash again, which builds up stagger rather fast. And there's this weird bug. It's not really a bug. It's more like of how the hitbox works, where if people are running away from you and you dash towards them, there's the weird chance that the dash will hit them twice because the hitbox hits them once and they're running away. So then they'll re-enter the hitbox. So you can double proc a dash, which no other class can do. It's the only class that can do that. That's why I play Rush Warriors, because like if you're a gunner and we're both looking at each other, I can rush to the right or the left of you. So now you have to turn your camera, but I can just rush holding input directionals and then press triangle because the lock-on will lock on you and I'm on top of you. And if you're a gunner, you're locked out of shooting me now. So now you either have to jump and try to materia me off of you, or you have to accept my combo or run. And if you're running, then I can just keep my pressure on you. And that is a very like way to do it. And then if you're like trying to be more defensive with a warrior, I would tell you like learn the timing of your rush. Level 1 rush is 15 seconds. Level 2 rush is 10 seconds. Level 3 rush is a 5-second cooldown. So you want to try and push and kill mobs as fast as you can to level up, because having a 5-second gap closer is crazy. Because you think about it, you have that 3 times faster than somebody who hasn't leveled up and they're at level 1. You have that 2 times faster than somebody who's level 2 who hasn't gotten that little bit of XP to get to level 3. So you can pull 2 dashes off by the time they're pulling 1, which gives you so much more mobility. And you also get a 60 health shield every time you're dashing. So if you can time it right, you can eat a bullet or 2. You can eat a fireball and not get knocked back. Like there's so much this class can do when you like play it, when you try to play it to its perfection. But it does get like outshined in some melee aspects. You lose to like Red Fist. You lose to, if you're playing Rush, you lose to like Punisher. You lose to Dragoon's Favor. You like, there's all these classes now that are like really strong to counter it if you don't play right. Because the sad thing about warriors, you have besides Dragoon, you have one of the worst like final hits, was just the dunk. Because when you go in and try to land the dunk, you are now prone to, you have to get back up. And while you're in that, someone could just mag dump you with a gun and you're dead. And there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to like learn, and I would just tell you work on your positioning, work on like learning the limits of the class. Like and this doesn't go just for warrior, like any class, like learn the limits and learn the capabilities of your class. Morbid in chat is like a good example that like he's learned the limits of like Ranger and the drone. Like I tell him he's still playing the worst class and the worst ability in the game, but he understands that what his limitations are of like, hey, if I drone at the wrong time, I'm putting my body and myself at risk, because someone could just walk up and gun me down while I'm in drone. Like you have to learn that and be comfortable in your class to where you're no longer doubting yourself. You're like, hey, I know this class and I know what I'm capable of. So if I think I can take this fight, I'm taking this fight. You want to be confident in yourself, and you want to be confident in your class that it's going to do what you want it to do.
Well, Morbid's also asked. Well, I guess he took down Kazma, didn't he, in the tournament too with that drone?
He definitely caught Kazma at a very weak point. Kazma decided to take on, I think it was Morbid's teammate, while me and Sion were fighting a totally different team. And Kazma called out the Punisher. But what really I thought was funny was when Kazma tried to jump up onto the tires to get away from the Punisher, where Morbid got the drone to come in behind Kazma and lock him in so he couldn't leave. And then he blew up the drone as the thing. So like, yes, he did end up picking up Kazma, and he did it in a way that like he didn't get picked off. But at the end of the day, if he thinks about it, if Morbid was a little bit closer, or if he was ready, he could have like tried and picked off me and Sion when Kazma was distracted, or help his teammate. Because if you look back at it, like I don't know exactly what happened to Morbid, because there was a lot going on in the moment. But like the second after Kazma dies, that teammate dies right after. So he was there with the drone, but giving up the drone, he now lost his pressure of helping his teammate. But he knew his limits. He took the trade, and he at least got a kill out of it, which helped his team in the tournament to get points.
He's also saying which is the better skill to have, threat and also the survivor's spoils.
So this was a very big controversy at first, because back when we had the jeweled pendant, right, that negated slows, the thunder blind, and poison. Back when we had it all in one thing, it made Threaten useless, because Threaten wouldn't slow. So I would tell people you always run survivor spoils. With now it only being like, if you're running the Blizzard Ring, you can get away. I think Threaten has a place now. If you're a player that wants to just jam the melee button and just hopefully stick most of the combo, it is definitely a contender to keep. I personally will tell you survivor spoils. It was really strong last season before they added the assist meta in, because say I knock somebody with the sword and then Kazma shot the guy while he's down, I get healed anyways because I knocked him with a sword. Then say Kazma shot a guy, he got knocked down, and I kill him with the sword, I still get healed. So it was a way for me to keep my health up without needing potions. Because when you're looking at this game from like a competitive standpoint, you have to, resources are everything. And when we're taking fight after fight after fight, or people are trying to come at us, like you don't really have that time to heal. So having survivor spoils, if I get it down or I can kill somebody, that's instant health that I get. And if I'm poisoned, that's instant health I can still get that doesn't get checked by poison, when all the other things don't have that. So say you had no potions and you just barely won a fight against another warrior and you have threaten, cool, you have like 10 HP, you have nothing. If I had survivor spoils and I killed that same warrior, I'm at like 90 and I can take this next fight if I need to, or I can try and run away if I'm getting hit by one bullet and my whole life is over. So I think both have their play styles for how you want to play. If you think you need to slow down your opponents, take threaten. If you want to like have more of that like survival style, I would tell you run survivor spoils, because that's definitely like, I think any ability in the game that is able to heal you is crazy. If you look at Trickster's new thing where it says every time you get a headshot, get healed, that's crazy. Cosma's already tested it with if you have Drain Belt and a purple LMG and you're headshotting somebody while body shot, you can't die. Doesn't matter what gun they have, unless it's a Cyclops, you can shoot that person back and forth and you just won't die. Like you will heal astronomical amounts. You actually don't need potions anymore. You just need ammo. I promise you.
Well, we keep flirting with the outskirts of talking about that tournament, which I've congratulated you before anyway privately, but I'm going to congratulate you again, obviously, because you recently won the tournament with LSK, Cyan and Kazma. And I think it's evident from just talking to you for this short time of how much thought and preparation sort of went into your game plan for this. So I guess where to start, where to begin on the tournament thing. I mean, is there anything in particular? If we just start with what was your how did you find your tournament experience, and how did it live up to what you thought it would be like?
So we went into the tournament thinking it was like, so how we came to be how we are, right? At the end of season 2, when they said, hey, we have private matches coming, and Cran was like, oh, well, I'm going to host a tournament. I was like, well, I need a team. My WCG just left because he's focusing on school. Bonanza stopped because he was just done with the game. And like, I was by myself and I was like, well, I have nothing really to do. I looked at Cyan, who I knew was a good shooter, who still kind of played the game. He had Vaduk, who just left to start working more. Zenpai was playing other things. And then I saw Cosmo, and like I figured out by that time I figured out Cosmo was a solo player. So I added them. I waited about 2 days. Like I both tried to add him on Discord because I wanted to get him in a group chat. And after like 2 days, they both accepted it. And I said, hey, I know Cran has a tournament coming up. I think we have the best chance at winning it. What do you guys think? I know you guys are good players, and I think nobody else in the game can beat me at Melee. Let's go. Let's win. It's free money. And I even told them at that time, I was like, if WCG wants to play, WCG will take my spot. Because at the time, I just wanted to coach. I just wanted to make the God team was my goal. And my God team in my head was Cosma, WCG, and Cyan. I think even if WCG came back today, you give them like a week, I think if you put Cyan, WCG, and Cosmo together, they would take the whole world by storm because they're just crazy at the game. But yeah, I reached out to them, got them together, and when it came to the tournament, like we won the Grand Slam. Then all these other tournaments were happening up to the way, and it was like our names were top 3. Our names were top 3. When Blitz Mode came out, I told Cyan, like, you're taking number 1 because you got all this time to grind, and I don't feel like grinding it unless I'm playing with you guys. And Cosmo was like, I'll play it on the side. So they played it. And we just kept putting our names out there because we wanted people to know, like, if we wanted to compete, we're going to compete. And then when we saw the JP tourney, we were like, oh, we can play this, because some of the players that won the JP thing, like Naroko, and then the team who ended up winning it all, Science played. We beat them. We were like, oh, we can do this. Like, I don't think it's gonna be that crazy. Like, I don't think there's anybody in NA that's pushed us that hard that we can't like try and compete in this. And so when the NA one got announced, we're like, we're walking away with it. That was our mindset the whole way. Is like, we're winning this, and we're doing what it takes to win. And that's the mindset we went in. We went in with winning. We had like a hiccup, but in the end, like we didn't practice all that much because in our heads we built that camaraderie through like talking, playing multiple tournaments before, and we built this level of camaraderie where like I don't have to question what Sion and Cosmo are doing because like I can trust them to do their jobs. So if I'm like, hey, we have a tournament tomorrow, like I already know they're gonna play a game or two and they're gonna make sure they're up to date and they're ready for it. I need to make sure I'm in a clear mindset that I can not get fucking in the wrong position or make sure I have Sion like where we need him. Like that's when you look at like my footage that I posted back on YouTube, like really in the finals and everything like that is like I'm calling things out and pinging things. That way Sion's looking where Cosmo's looking so they can work together and kill somebody so they're not spending too much time fighting it. Or Sion gets tunnel vision is like, I'm going to go do this thing. Well, me and Cosmo have the same agenda. We're like, no, we need to push this advantageous position so we don't have to worry about anything. So we're trying to pull we're trying to pull Sion back to me and Cosmo so we can keep doing what we're doing and work together as a team and a unit, because when us three are together, we're unstoppable. And we showed that to everybody. It's you have to separate us or you have to like gun us all down at once. And if you don't do that, then you fall apart. And I'm happy I made this team, and going into the tournament, we were definitely striving to say, hey, we're winning it all. And we wanted to prove, I'm happy with how the lobbies went, because a big thing, that's what Cosmo was really happy for, was like the prelims. We had the hard prelim. So we were like, cool, we get a good feel for how the finals is going to be. Finals day one, we had the hard lobby. We're like, all right, we get to feel how the tournament's going to be. We get to feel how tomorrow's going to be besides like one or two teams. Then we went to the finals. We're like, all right, we've already had jam-packed lobbies. We know how people come at us. We just do it again. And no offense to creators and OG teams, I think that's where they weren't set up for success. It's because in their prelim lobby and in their day one finals, they just rolled their competition. And they were like, oh, there's no challenge here. They didn't have to like think. They didn't have to like push any stress. So when they went into day two against us, they were relaxed. They were like, hey, we've been doing really good. We're really strong. We're really up there. And then they ran into us and we were like, we're also really good, really strong. And we came to show you that we're not losing. And that's just the mentality. I think as a team, those three are very strong and they play well off of each other. But I think I was hoping to see some like footage from their side, because I asked for footage to like look at it and to see how they did on their side. I think their comms may have got hectic, or like they weren't fully calming things clearly, which I think they could work on that aspect. But overall, like they are a solid team when they stick together. And it's definitely like, if you look at the moments when Team Rocket like lost to us, you can see Creator or one of the other teammates that are separated from the team. Like the one time where like we dropped sector 7 and we drove down to Pillar because all the teams were there. We drove down, grabbed loot. You saw OG and Creator way down at like underneath support while they left Krovax by himself. So we swung and we just picked him up. So now instead of them wanting to fight us when we really didn't have anything, we had like 2 potions, they had to leave because they want to go get their teammate back. Where if they stuck close together, he could have been like, hey, I have people here. They could have turned, swung, shot at us. We could have had a proper fight. But yeah, we went into the tournament confident that each of us was going to do our job and we were going to walk away with it. And it was, we want more tournaments like this. We want 75 out of 75 player lobbies. We want that heat, that intensity that we had every weekend. And we don't know if we'll ever have that again, but that is, if you guys want to know the most fun I've had in First Soldier, it was these weekends, having those 70 player lobbies over and over again.
Yeah, there's a lot to sort of unpack there. So what I'm sort of, if I break that down, what I'm really hearing, and something that I did notice as well when I was watching back the tournament myself, was that those comms were crucial as well. I remember at one point it cut to you and you were pinging like players on the top of a cliffside, I remember, and then it's just like, okay, so you're just drawing everyone's attention in, like you said, to that one place, and then you all just went in like a pack of ravenous dogs and just cleared the whole area out. Is something, yeah. And that coordination, I think, is definitely what helped you win it. And also then you, as you mentioned earlier in the conversation when you were saying play to the advantage of the materia, when you trapped fear in that building by using the arrows. They just couldn't get out, and then you've got the zone pushing in on them, and then you're up the top of the hill, and you just peppered them up, and then that was gone. That was that one won. And as well, like thinking on your feet, where Kazma had obviously been taken down, and I think there was another 2 teams in that last. I think it was that game 5, whether it was Kazma, or game 4 where Kazma got taken out, and then
it was game 4. We had like 5 teams still left, and Kazma got taken out. And instead of pursuing the guy who just killed Kazma, I thought Kazma could still be res, but I forgot Kazma died earlier that round because when we fought Team Rocket that same round, because that was like the one time Team Rocket was all together and they had Raze and we didn't. So when I hit the fireball and knocked OG and I swung the corner to get him, they raised him, and I was like, oh, well, this is bad. And we got picked apart because they played really well together as a team. When they have communication, they work well. And so when Cosmo got knocked and I got knocked, we just told Sion, like, get out of there. Sion's very hesitant, so like we had to tell him, like, hey, get out of there. Sion goes, reses us, and I know I have sword, and I know they're low, and I know they're down a man, so I'm sitting it back. I told Cosmo, I was like, land on your stuff. If they try to kill you, I kill the guy who kills you. And that's just how we played that. And then that final one, like, I thought Cosmo could come back, so I leave right away. But when it clicks in my head that I can't get him, I go back to help Sion finish the guy that killed Cosmo, so we don't have to worry about that guy anymore. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, now we're a 2-man team. Let's play a little bit safer. We don't need to push people. We'll play zone, because we're playing that better than other people. We're paying attention to the zone because me and Cosmo are always looking at that. We're always looking which way it's going to pull. How can we push people out the zone so we're in the advantage? And Sion, he got tracked, like one track to mine. He's like, I just want to kill people. I just want to kill people. And he just goes out there and he just tries to fight. And thankfully, like right before Sion went and got himself almost killed, I picked up a raise off of a body. And the second I saw him, I was like, I have to make the play here because I know I'm good, but PH's team still had all 3 members up, and I can't do that by myself. 3 gunners will just take me out. So I dashed in. I told Lily, if you guys go back and watch the video, I told Sion, I was like, do not move because if I miss this, we're both dead. And I hit the raise, and then I'm like, move. And we both moved out of there, and we played to our strengths. It doesn't really show on like when the finals were happening, but I saw Dante fly over the first time. That's when Sion tried to shoot him, and I chased him into the building because Dante didn't have anything. He just came back. So I pushed him in the building. I pick him while I'm killing Dante. Sion was killing Nox. So now it's just us versus PH's team. And when we're in that situation, I was like, the second I see Sion go in, I need to go in and trust that Sion just did damage so I can do stuff. And that's what Sion did. We swung that first guy. I went in. I started hitting that guy. When I hit the first guy, I think that was Ronaldo. As I'm hitting Ronaldo, all 3 of them are focusing me. Now that they're looking at me, Sion was able to change his fire over to Porky, drop Porky. I dropped the first guy. Now it's just PH and us. And now we're a 2v1. And at that point, we knew it was over. Like, you can see me messing around at the end there. I was just shooting a buzzsaw launcher over and over again. Like, he has to do something about this. And it was definitely crazy. But, like, we were able to, like, keep our head together and, like, just pull it in because it got real dicey because, like, we wanted to win every match to prove Creator wrong and to also like that's just how we felt. Like we felt like we couldn't be touched at that point. After the last 2 weekends, we're like, oh, if we play together, there's no stopping us. And we wanted to prove that right. And so that was our biggest motivation, was just trying to show people that we are the best 3 in the game. It takes a very selfless behavior to play how I played that tournament, and that's why I want people. If you think you could take my job, I'm welcoming it to everybody. I want you to realize you have to give up your own agenda and be like, I'm not here to get kills. I'm here to make sure these 2 stay alive, and sometimes you got to do it to do it. And it was definitely a great time. Stressful too.
It's very masterful. Creator sent his regards, by the way. I did ask him if he had a message for you, because obviously, if anyone who saw the Square Enix footage of the tournament at the beginning said that your 5 wins out of 5 was not feasible, and he just said, "Good work and well done and congrats on that." So that's what he sort of wanted to say to you.
That was the big motivation, because when we heard like the casters ask the question, he goes, I don't think it's feasible because we're in the lobby now. I was like, all right, guys, we're doing it. Because we were just going to play smart. and we didn't care if we lost a game or two. We were like, all right, we're just gonna get our points and then just chill and just dominate you guys through kills because no one's gonna try and fight us. And then when he said that, our whole mindset changed. I was like, we're winning every game. I don't care what we have to do. We're winning every game. Like, if you looked at our game one, like, Zenpai's team had us for a second. They almost had Cosmo, and I was like, Cosmo, pop Ifrit, because we had it. That was our button of we're winning this, and we popped it, and that just, like, snowballed us into game one, game two, and game three. Like, we just took it apart. I feel really bad. I think it was game two where it just shows Cyan fighting Zenpai, but it's really like what happened in that fight. If you look at like my POV, me and Cosmo are taking like the bottom half of the circle, killing every team along the way, and it's just Cyan and Zenpai fighting each other the whole time while me and Cosmo are just killing everybody else. And it's like it's just how we trusted Cyan to not die, that we could go fight other people. And it was like that's what I tell people. Like, if you want a team, find yourself people that you can trust to just do what they need to do, and you'll never have a better team.
Sweet. I mean, people can, if they haven't already seen that in chat, you've got your YouTube channel, haven't you, that you've just dropped that on, and I don't know if the actual official footage is still on the Square Enix for them to pour over and create their own book, I guess, because that's what you said that you did yourself, was look over people's VODs and take notes. It's
if like people definitely like if you like want to look up to people, like when you die to somebody, hey, write down, like, it's something I did, write down, be like, hey, I died to somebody outgunning me today. And then like underneath that, be like, what led up to it? Like, where were you? Did you have the low ground? Did you have the high ground? Did you have low health? Did you get third party? Like, so you can look at like what mistake you did so you can work on it for the next time. So like, hey, if you got third party, all right, well, make sure I'm only taking fights where if someone does show up to third party, I have a good escape route to get out of this third party, so you're not stuck there.
Yeah, and that's definitely, I mean, the proof's in the pudding, as they say, of that works for you. I mean, are you also, I mean, I guess, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say about the tournament, but I was just going to say, what is it? The Miquez asked actually what you were going to spend your money on, your winnings on.
Mostly IRL stuff. One, I was going to get an actual desk. I'm currently on like a fold-out table for my computer setup. I was going to get an actual desk to put my computer on. Other stuff is just IRL stuff. Tournament money, like, Cyan really wanted the money more. I knew it helped him a lot. IRL, Cosmo he's like, it's free money, and so he chilled with it. Me, it's helps me with some IRL stuff and just lets me hopefully do this job better for the community, so I can help teach more players or play more games with the community. And to speak about like some things that I think I saw in the chat about the tournament, people asked, how did we deal with nerves? We weren't nervous. I have my nerves. I always have pre-tournament nerves where I'm always like, what if the worst case scenario? And what I do is I try to like get all of that out within like a day or a week. And I'm like, hey, these are the worst case scenarios. I think them through. So when it comes game day, I've already seen all the lines. I've seen the worst case scenarios. So I just avoid the worst case scenarios and play to my strengths. Cosmo, he's never worried. Cosmo's a chill guy, has no nerves. The only time he gets upset is like he made a mistake or we made a mistake. So he's just dialed in. Cyan's just, he's worried if he thinks we're not going to get enough points or if something goes wrong. So as long as me and Cosmo keep him on the straight path, he has no nerves. He just knows we're going to be doing everything. And you can tell by like our comms, we're just clear. We're like, hey, this person, we're moving here, we're doing this. It's just how we are. Like you'll see the one time like our comms get bad is day one. Me and Cosmo have like a tussle with each other because Cosmo, I make a bad play, Cosmo makes a bad play, and we get mad at each other. But what I do as a player, like we literally got mad at each other, and Cosmo was like, I don't need the fucking money, I'll quit. And Cosmo was like on the verge of leaving, and I was like, no, we don't need this. I need to back up. I left the voice call, took a deep breather. I was like, I can't be doing this right now. I let that match finish. I came back in the voice call. I was like, hey, we're here as a team. We play this together. Because you don't want to fight with your teammates. Because if you fight with your teammates, then you're always going to have that friction. It's like, hey, just take a breath back. Be like, hey, we have footage. We can look back at this when we're done and see exactly what went wrong so we can never make that. So like there in the moment we were yelling at each other because we're like, oh well, vocals pushed up too far. We had no comms. Sion's like, I told everybody to pull back. And I was like, that's not what happened. Like I pushed up too far, but we didn't comm anything. And when we go back and we watch the footage, like I pushed up, there was no comms. The second I got a comm of, hey, somebody's here, or hey, we should pull back, I listened to my team. I drop, I pull back, and that's what we did. So we played to our comms, we played to how we usually play. It was just the comms were too late. And we did a risky play that we didn't need to do because the people were outside the zone. They would have had to leave the tower anyways. So hindsight's 2020. Like in that moment, we're mad at each other. But if we just take a step back, calm down, don't be at each other's throats, we can play to our strengths. And that's what we did when it came to like game day 2.
Renegade Shogun there is for question for vocals. Did you consider running Sork or Machinist during different games to change it up?
Definitely did. Definitely was heavily considering Machinist for a little bit, only because like when it came down to find like closer circles, me just having the ability to turn off the enemy's guns and have my team's guns working was just crucial. But the problem with it was like I didn't have the mobility with the class, and like that's what I really wanted, is because like if Kaz or Sion got like knocked, I needed that mobility so I can get there to cover for him. Or if like I'm fighting somebody and something goes on behind me with them, I need to be able to get back to them. With Machinist, I can't do that. Sure, you could say I got to take the hoverboard. The hoverboard's slow and like it's just a big noise machine and says, "Hey, shoot me!" Like we shot 2 people off of them during the tournament. Like it's a big target on your back for people to do it. And Sorceress, there was a point where Cosmo was like, "Just stop playing." He was like, I was like, "No, I prefer it." Sork is definitely like a good support class for the tournaments, because if you think about it, like if you want like my like go to, if you were to play Sork in that tournament, you would run Fire, Raise, and Cure. And the reason why I tell you would run these things, you probably actually would run Arrow, Raise, and Cure, because when you pop Trance, all those things are free. So you can, and because you're in Trance, they're upgraded. So you could run over to your buds and you could hit them with a level 2 Raise. They have full health. They're good. They can right back in the fight. Or your team gets low, you can just start popping Cures. You're literally a tank that can't die anymore because you just have Cure 3 on like no cooldown. And then Arrow, you can just start tossing that to get your team up to a high advantage, or start just getting the mobility to get away from people, mixed with the Cure and the Raise. Like your team just shouldn't die because you could throw the Arrow, get your down teammate somewhere else, then drop on top of them, hit him with a Raise. And it's just, I think Sork is a very solid choice. Fire is also a good choice, but like we definitely, like game 1, none of us had Fire, and we showed like you don't need it. Like it's good because it has, Fire will always be good as long as it has a knockback. And like I think that's going to show how good Tornado is this season, because Tornado has a crazy knockback but doesn't need the damage. Just the CC capabilities of Materia is ridiculous. Like I'm expecting to see a lot of like Tornado final circle kills where like you're fighting somebody, they throw the Tornado, it throws you into the zone, you're just dead because of it, because of how far it tosses you. Like the CC of Materia is just so crazy. But yeah, definitely like we did think about other classes. Cosmo wasn't thinking about playing Ranger. He was definitely thinking about playing Dragoon, because we were all thinking the whole mobility thing. Like, how can we move somewhere? How can we get somewhere? How can we do stuff to the best of our abilities to make sure we're in the best spot? But Kaz is like, I can play Ranger. I reload faster. And he knew he was a better shot than most of the players. So as long as he had guns, he had bullets in his gun, he could fight everybody. So he went with Ranger, and then the scan was helpful. It did lead to some fights that like we probably shouldn't have took, because like there's definitely one time I think in semifinals where like I see somebody half health, I'm like, oh, I can send this person. I jumped in the building, didn't know his buddy jumped in right behind me, and I end up in a bad spot. And so like it's like what I told Alimir is like the Ranger is like assess is a good thing, because yes, you can see everybody's health bar, you can see their classes, but it can also lead you into fights or predicaments that you're not fully ready for, because you think you have the advantage because you're like, oh, I have the health advantage, but in all reality, you didn't have the advantage, and you just gave up your advantage by going in there. And that's some of the things that we thought about. But yeah, we never thought about taking Sion off a Ninja, because like that's all that guy can play. Yeah, I don't think he can play anything else. But we know our weaknesses. We know what
Do
we're
you
good
think
at.
that Well, I'll ask Duck his question as well before, because he was saying about like what you're gonna do like going forwards now with like FS, and are you gonna go more into playing Tower of Fantasy?
So I'm still gonna stick with First Soldier. My goal is I'm gonna hit Prime this season. Because I didn't hit Prime last season because I didn't care. Like I stopped playing as much because like the game just like I wanted to do other things and like I was just so drained. Like I just wanted the competition. And like that's what I said. Like those weekends were like what I lived for, and I didn't want to spoil it by playing a whole bunch and being burnt on the game. I'm like I hate the game. It's just bots, and then it would ruin my mental for when it's time to play against players. So I was playing other games that were keeping me actively engaged, keeping me ready. So when it came time to play against those actual players, I was hyped for it. And uh, so I'll probably hit Prime. I'll hold Prime. When new events come up, I'll make content on the new events. I'll show you guys off. I'm not going to like fully dive into the stuff like probably some other creators are who are going to put a whole bunch of time into the game this season. I am transitioning to probably making like Tower Fantasy probably like one of my main games. One, because it's a game I get to play with you guys as a community more than just two players of my team. We get to go all kill a world boss, or we can all go do stuff. We get a guild function that I have been telling the devs to add to First Soldier so we can all be under one banner. So I can be like, hey, look, I have the best players and First Soldiers under us, and I'm happy to help any one of them and be there for all of them. And like I've already done that with like the herd. I've told everybody, I'm like, hey, you guys ever want coaching? You guys ever need an opinion? You guys ever have a question? Everybody's always able to come to me and ask that. And that's why I've been telling the devs, I'm like, make some kind of clan or guild function so I can be like, boom, look, everybody join here and we will show we are the best players in this game because we all improve together.
Best players and one no life grinder, lol. Yes, because as well, that's another thing I was going to ask you specifically as well, because that's Alamir had a lot of thoughts on that when we spoke together just before he actually left the game, was like what you think they could do to improve it, like going forwards.
So honestly, like I think a PvE mode would be good for the game. I know a lot of people say that too. I think some way for like the problem with, so like you have to look at like the dev point of view. I know all like everybody's like, why don't they just do this? Why don't they just keep blitz mode? Why don't they just keep variant mode? Like these are so fun. You have to look at it from a dev standpoint, right? You're splitting your players then. So like if I'm playing ranked because I'm a grinder and I'm like, I want to play competitive of this game, but variant mode or blitz mode's out, but you prefer the casual side, and we're like the only two players online right now. I'm going to have a bot lobby, and your game mode's never going to go off because you can't get a bot lobby in that game mode. So then you're going to get upset and complain that nobody's here. And I'm going to get upset and complain because I'm just killing bots and I'm bored out of my damn mind. I remember back, so like I say this a lot. Me and Cosmo say this a lot. We wish ranked lobbies would go back to how they were in season one, where you had to sit in a queue until about 30 plus players all queued up. And then if by 2 minutes, if you weren't in queue, you had to restart queue. And you just kept restarting queue until enough players queued up. And then when you queued up, you went into ranked. Bots only spawned the first circle. Once first circle closed, there was no more bots at all. So all the bots usually died and they were already there. So the amount of players you saw left, those were all real players. So you always had a good game. You always were fighting a whole bunch of players. It was just competitive. But a lot of people complained that they were like, I hate waiting in queue. I hate waiting in queue. I played SMC where me and like 26 other players sat in 3-hour queues to get one TDM game going because we'd rather play with real players than play with bots. And I know a lot of people feel that way because nobody likes going in a bot match. Like that's why like I think Prime was a joke last season. It's because like everybody's like, oh, I'm Prime. Cool. How many of those games did you go against one real player? Like it's like I want there to be a PvE mode, so like there's a story to First Soldier. I want there to be like more stuff to do in the game. I want a guild function so players can like have like more weeklies to do. Be like, hey, play with a guild mate. Hey, have guild wars. Like whose guild can get the most points in this? Get like a temporary title or something, or like just put a banner like these guilds beat these guilds. Like add a little like monthly or seasonal tournament like gives out Shinra credits. Like there's so much that they could do, but they say they listen to us, but they don't fully. Like they could also like work on, I guess, like some type of, well, they can't really do an MMR system because of like how few players we have right now, but also just work on a console and a PC release. Like not even disregard the PC release, just put it on like Switch or like console, because you already have the same engine that you use for 7 remake. It's literally the same engine, so just put the game over there. I don't know how much harder it is. I'm not a game dev. I don't know all the loops that go into it. But this game will skyrocket and get more traction if it was on console. It already has built-in controller support, and they're bringing it so we can change the controls on it. So nobody's going to complain. They're doing stuff we're moving in the right direction. It's just we're doing it so late now, and we had a rough start that we've lost everybody.
Yeah, that's the shame about it. It's like it feels like everything's there. It's not firing on all cylinders yet. It's like as well when it feels like as well they're making almost like tweaks and buffs to things based on it being bot lobbies too. Is my like thoughts. It's like people are asking them to change stuff, but it's like, yeah, but it hasn't. You're thinking of it because you're playing bots, not when there's like, if there were actually 75 people in a lobby, you don't want all these changes to be made. The game will play out much differently. Like you saw yourself how much different it was when you're actually in there with actual other players. But then people are asking for buffs and things to do it. And I think I'm with you on I mean, I'd be willing to sit and wait if I actually was in a lobby with actual players rather than it being, a bunch of bots in there. But when people are making suggestions, but it's on the basis of, oh, I'm going to be playing with a load of bots, I think that's the sort of wrong way to go. And I think, yeah, a lot of people are turned off by this mobile phone thing. Like I've had like lifelong FF fans who haven't even touched it because they turn their nose up on it. Like, oh, it's a mobile game. Nah, I'm not into that. The whole gacha thing as well. Like even in Europe, there's whispers of people like trying to ban these games because of like the gambling element of it, and just like, oh, it's obviously a money grab. A team are the ones who are developing. Is some of the things that I hear, but it's just getting those people in, because that's. I mean, what do you think people can do to pull new players in? Because I mean, you see it. You're in the community too. It's the same faces. It's the same people, which is it's great. But then it runs the risk of it being like too niche, too many people then thinking, oh, well, that community's already set up. I can't really get involved in that. I mean, what do you think? I don't know. What needs to happen to it?
I would tell people like just give it a try. See if like it's something you would enjoy. Because like if you like, I tell them like if you already play games on your phone, just try this question, because we'll try this BR, because it's probably, like I said, I think it's the best BR I've ever played. It has something for everybody. It's at a point where it can only get better from here. We're only a year in. We've shown that there will be tournaments, and there probably is going to be a championship next year too. I don't know how we're going to get players for it, but if everybody stays around, we'll still have the same teams we had. Like the devs care about the game. They're just trying to figure out what they can do to keep the game moving in a direction to keep everybody with it. But I would tell people to try it, and if you don't like it, then you don't like it. If you think you can't join the community because it's a niche and like it's already established, Onyx, she's one of the newer people who just started streaming the game. She started streaming the game, and we're like, hey, welcome to the game. I've seen newer players since the tournament picked up that I've never seen stream the game before, and I've like tuned into their streams. Like I love to see newer players because I like to see I like to watch other people play the game because I get to see their reaction and how they feel about the game and the moments they're playing the games, rather than myself where I'm like, oh, I messed up here, and I'm already critiquing myself, and now I'm like, all right, next game. Or like earlier today when I played on stream, like I mentioned earlier, when I ran into Iro and I literally called it because I knew how this community was. I was like, oh, he's going to ping me that he killed me, and it doesn't matter to me because like I'm just joking around, and like I'm just running around with a deck of cards. And literally within like 5 seconds, he pinged me and he was like, hey, look, I'm doing good. I'm like, it's it was so predictable that it's like when you know everybody in the community, you know what they're all gonna do before it happens, and it's like that's why I think like another reason why me and Kaz were like so like yeah, we got this tournament, and like why we're confident, because honestly, if you ask me who's the best player in the game right now, I would tell you Cosmo. I don't think there's a better player in this game than Cosmo. EA, NA, SIA, Europe. If you play on the same ping as Cosmo, you will lose. That I guarantee you, this man and his two thumbs will bully you into existence. I've seen it time and time again where somebody kills them and they're like, "Oh, I beat Cosmo," and Cosmo's like, "All right, now I'm just gonna roll you the next 5 games to prove a point that you're not that good." Like Kaz is a very chill guy and he likes to have fun, and the same thing happened to him. Like it happened with me of Iro today. The day 1 of the season, like Cosmo was the first person to prime his solos. He got it like early yesterday morning. Like he was the first one. He played to get prime just to be like, "Hey, look, I'm number 1." But he was playing against Renoa, and as he went to fight her, the 20% notification popped up on his phone. He died, and she posts that clip, and she's like, "Oh, I went against Cosmo," and I'm like, "But did you really go against Cosmo?" Like, you kind of just stood there and died. I'm like, we understand like when like our names pop up or you kill anybody who has like a banner, like the first place, second place, or third place, you're like, you get that simple that like feeling of accomplishment. You're like, "Oh, I beat this person," but like I want you to look at it like from a third person point of view. Like, was it really a fight? Did you feel challenged? Did you learn something, right? Because I like as a person who's always wanting to improve, did you learn something? Did you have to try, or did you just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna walk around"? Like, I don't want to take anything away from people. Like today, I didn't want to take away from Iro that like, yes, he killed me, even though I technically fireballed myself and killed myself. Like, he's playing a class that like he sticks with and he knows the ins and out. I'm testing a new class that I'm not fully comfortable on. And I'm literally just running on and testing the melee of it. And I made my mistakes and I died. And I said, "Hey, if you want to 1v1, I will play serious. And if you think you've improved, we will see if you've actually improved." And some people think I'm like trying to be toxic. I'm never trying to be toxic or mean to you guys. I'm just trying to, I don't want you to get a false sense where you're like, "Oh, I've improved, I'm doing better." And then the next time you're like, "Wait, what happened?" And then you just think, but that's, everybody has their own mindsets for the game and how they're going to look at a situation. I just tell you to like sit back and like look at the situation, try to look at it from my point of view. Like most of the time when I'm playing the game, I'm on stream. So you can go look at what I was talking about in my point of view. Like you could be like, "Well, why didn't he do this? Or why didn't he do that?" Oh, maybe I was looking at chat. Maybe I was talking or laughing, or maybe I'm just like, "Hey, watch this." Like you got to realize like most of my fights, I don't care. Like you guys could kill me a million times and be like, "You're trash." And I'm like, "You're right. You know what? I'm trash." But at the end of the day, like words don't get to me. I'm more of a player that's like, I'm here to enjoy the game. When I want to take the game serious, I'll take the game serious. There's multiple people who have been like, "I'll fight you warrior 1-on-1." And there's very few people who have like beat me, and they've beat me less than 5 times. And I guarantee I beat them more than 5 times. And it's people can look at their one win and I'll be like, consistently, I will beat you. 9 out of 10 times, I will beat you. I will tell you against Cosmo, 9 out of 10 times, Cosmo will beat you. I'll tell you with Sion, 9 out of 10 times, Sion will probably beat you too. Like, we are the players that will fight you, and we will show that we play consistently. We don't let nerves get to us, and we will be happy to prove that we play. We can play to back up ourselves.
Well, you're a trophy kill now. That's just the in and out of it.
That's why
you've got that banner
we're
on.
rocking the title and banners. We want everybody to post it because they're gonna be like, "Oh, this is our claim to fame," and we're like, "You got
it." Well, I'm getting red notifications that my encoding's going, so I'm going to wrap this up a little bit quicker than perhaps I would have liked to, because I don't want to give people a laggy stream. But the last sort of question that I've been asking people on these is, if you could put up a giant billboard in the middle of the Midgar map, what would you put on it? What would it say?
It would just say, "Warrior's the best class. Don't ever play Ranger," and it would just be right there the whole time.
Just have ranges
Easiest.
around it,
And-
emptying clips
and
into it.
And then like, or maybe like on the backside of that billboard, it would just say, if you ever want to win, you just buy a Chocobo hoodie, and it would just show like all the hoodies that are in the game. Like that's what we did during the tournament. I was the only one who had the blue hoodie, so I wore the blue hoodie. Cosmo had the yellow hoodie, so he wore the yellow one, and then Sion had the black hoodie because we all got it for free. So we're like, oh, cool. Well, originally, the final like game-ending somatic, what we were going to do, which it didn't show on stream, is we had each one of the little like Bahamut like snap holograms. Since I was wearing the blue hoodie, I had the regular Bahamut that would come out. Cosma had Bahamut Fury because he was in the yellow hoodie, so it was yellow on yellow. And then Sion, he had Bahamut Sin, which had like the red background to Bahamut Sin, and he was in the black and red hoodie. It looked really cool, but like when we saw on stream, it wasn't showing. That's when we switched to like the double guns and the sword, and it was so many things you could do. It was funny.
I mean, you've got Morbid in the chat saying rude about that. Get wrecked, Morbid. There are a few more questions in there, but as I said, this keeps popping up red. I don't like to have a laggy stream. So anyway, thanks for coming on and having a chat with me. We'll have to maybe do this again at some point if there's another tournament. I mean, did you have any tournaments? And you had the Limit Breakers tournaments and things. Have you got any more plans for anything like that?
Yeah, I wanted to do a team one after doing the solo one, but after having like the official tournament, like I don't want to do a tournament unless it has 60 plus people, honestly. And the problem is like I will post like a Google forum link, and so I can literally see who's all signed up. And I tested with the first Limit Breakers. I was like, hey, like I'll put big money out there. People come, and only 4 teams signed up.
Oh, well, okay.
And I was like, but when I reach out to people, they're like, oh, I'll sign up. But when it comes time to sign up, they don't sign up. And I'm like, you guys can't say you want the tournaments. And like, if I want to host a tournament, I want it to be the level of like, you feel like it's a tournament and it's worth it. I don't want it to be like, oh, it's 20, 30 people. I see these guys every day. There's no variance here.
Which you definitely, the last one that you did, with the solo one, definitely felt like everybody came together for that. So I'll everyone in chat, obviously keep an eye out for that if you're thinking about maybe doing something like that again. Obviously you can find your Twitter and your Twitch links are all keep popping up in the chat there. So I just want to close this off and just say like thanks to everyone in chat for asking you questions and coming along, and obviously thanks to you. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say to sort of sign this off before we end this, but as you
I appreciate you guys. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys in the community, but you guys are what makes the game how it is. If you guys have any questions, you're always free to hit me up in Discord. You're always free to hit me up on Twitter. I stream almost every day for you guys. If you guys ever want to do something like with private lobbies or stuff like that, since I am an ambassador, I do get to test features first, and like I get keys for free. So stop spending money on keys. Just come to me or come to somebody else. I have like 700 keys that I don't spend. So if you ever want to do something, reach out to me. Like I'm helping Desmo do like a machinima series of like recording stuff. Like I don't care to host your lobby because I don't have to be there. All I have to do is go open up the lobby. You start the game. Once the game's there, I can like just put my phone off to the side. Like you guys are always welcome to do that stuff. But I appreciate you guys. Morbid, good luck ever joining me because I have a sword, so I'm not worried about it. Renault, if we got a gold hoodie, that would probably be the season 4 funniest shit in the world because apparently this is the season of gold. But yeah, hey guys, I want to shoot this time. We haven't had enough time to apparently answer everything, but definitely.
Well, I think we just lost legit on my stream there. So he did say just basically just reach out to him if you need anything. I'm going to take this through to end.